Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you're an investor in Singapore with a global portfolio, there's a pretty good chance you're paying a hidden cost that's quietly, nibbling away at your returns every single year. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this invisible investment tax and show you exactly how to fight back. So, let me just ask you straight up, is a hidden tax eating your investment returns? For most of us investing globally from here in Singapore, the answer is, unfortunately, yes. But the good news? Once you can see it, you can actually do something about it.
All right, let's dive in. First things first, we need to name the culprit. The thing that's causing this performance drag on our portfolios. It's a little something called withholding tax.
So what on earth is withholding tax? Well, think of it as a tax on your investment income, mostly dividends, that gets taken out right at the source. This means the foreign government deducts it before that cash ever even gets a chance to land in your brokerage account. That's why it feels so invisible, unless you know exactly where to look.
And this is a really crucial point for us here in Singapore. Our own tax system is fantastic when it comes to foreign income. The problem isn't on our end. The real challenge comes from the tax rules in the countries where the companies you're investing in are actually based.
To really see how big of a deal this is, let's zoom in on the biggest market for most of us, the United States. And believe me, this is where the numbers start to get pretty eye-watering. 30%. That is the default withholding tax that the United States applies to dividends paid to non-resident investors. I mean, think about that for a second. That's almost a third of your dividend income from U.S. companies just gone, before you even see a single cent.
So you might be asking, why such a hefty 30% rate for us? It's actually pretty simple. Singapore does not have an income tax treaty with the U.S. that helps lower the specific tax for us regular retail investors. Lots of other countries do, but we don't. So we're stuck facing that full default rate.
Let's make this super concrete. Imagine one of your U.S. stocks pays out a $100 dividend. Instantly, the IRS takes a $30 cut. That means only $70 actually makes it all the way to your account here. And this happens every single time a dividend gets paid out.
Okay, I know, 30% sounds pretty bad, but what if I told you there's a totally legal, well-established way to cut that tax bill in half? This is what we call the Irish advantage. The secret really lies in the wrapper you choose for your investments. If you invest through a U.S. domiciled ETF, you get hit with that full 30% tax. No way around it. But if you choose an Ireland domiciled ETF that holds the exact same U.S. stocks, well, that's when the magic happens, all thanks to a tax treaty.
Yep, that's the number. Just 15%. Because of a very favorable tax treaty between the U.S. and Ireland, the withholding tax on those U.S. dividends gets slashed all the way from 30% down to just 15%. This is the power of choosing the right ETF domicile. It's a huge deal. But how does this actually work? What's going on behind the scenes? Well, to really get it, we need to understand that there are two potential layers of tax that can hit you when you're investing through an ETF.
We call them Level 1 and Level 2 tax, or L1 and L2. L1 is the tax that the ETF fund itself has to pay on the dividends it collects from all the companies it holds. Then L2 is the tax that you, the investor, have to pay when the fund passes that income on to you.
Okay, let's trace the money for a U.S. domicile ETF. At the L1 fund level, a U.S. company pays a dividend to a U.S. fund. No tax there. Easy enough. But the pain comes at L2. When that fund distributes the dividend out to you in Singapore, bam, you get hit with that full 30% tax. Now let's compare that to the Irish ETF. This is totally different. Here, the tax gets applied at L1 when the U.S. company pays the Irish fund. But remember that treaty? The tax is only 15%. And here's the best part for us. At L2, when that Irish fund pays you, there's typically zero additional tax. The total tax leakage is just that 15%, literally half of what you'd lose with the US ETF.
Okay, so that's the mechanics of it. But what does this actually mean for your wallet, for your portfolio? Let's check out the real-world impact.
Let's put some real numbers on this. Say you have $10,000 invested in US stocks, and they yield 2%. That's $200 in dividends. With a US ETF, a $60 tax bite leaves you with just a 1.4% net yield. But with the Irish ETF, only $30 is withheld, boosting your net yield up to 1.7%. Bottom line, you simply keep more of your own money.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Is 0.3% difference, does that really matter?
Yes, it absolutely does. Because it's not a one-time thing. It's a permanent boost to your annual return. It's extra performance you get year after year just by choosing the smarter structure.
And this is the real kicker. Over an investing lifetime, we're talking 20, 30, even 40 years, that seemingly tiny 0.3% difference compounds into a massive difference in how much your portfolio is worth at the end. This is the silent power of minimizing that tax drag.
So now that you know all this, what do you do? Let's wrap up with a really practical checklist you can use before you make your next global investment.
So before you click buy, just run through these 4 things. First, where is the ETF based? What's its domicile, US or Ireland? Second, what countries is it investing in and what are their tax rules? Third, know whether the fund is accumulating, meaning it reinvests dividends for you, or distributing them out as cash. And finally, the big one, always weigh the total cost. Is a hidden tax drag completely wiping out the benefit of a slightly lower fee?
And that really brings us to the final question you should ask yourself. Remember, the lowest expense ratio doesn't always mean you get the best return. So go on, take a look at your portfolio and really ask, are my ETFs truly tax efficient, or are they just cheap? The answer could honestly change your financial future.